This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and struggles. I share what to eat and how to move, and how you can think to get the energy and the vitality you want in this second and better half. And today is something just totally different. So, in this episode, this is really an open invitation to you. So, yes, you, if you are listening right now, I am talking to you about how we can work together for the upcoming month. Really, what I'd love you to do is to jump into my core challenge. And I'm talking today about the mistakes that women often make when they're working core or they want a flat belly. So if this is you, listen up. If you are guilty of doing any of these things, unintentionally guilty, right? So you're not doing it knowing this doesn't work. It's the intuitive thing is if you want to flatten your belly and you want to create a little more waistline definition and a little less maybe waistland, it's natural to think I should do more core exercise, whether that's crunches or sit-ups. And y'all know I'm not a fan of crunches or sit-ups, and I'm not going to go down that spiral path today because I've covered it so many times about why crunches and sit-ups are injurious. I will potentially link to another podcast where I did it with my guest, Dr. Stuart McGill, out of Waterloo, Toronto, who is recently retired, but until that point, he has been a world-renowned back pain specialist and core exercise specialist. And he too is for over 2.5 decades. I've listened to him, gone to lectures, read his work about the kind of misuse or overuse of crunches and sit-ups, and the truth about how much forward flexion we actually have in our spines that we can do in a lifetime, and the way that crunches and sit-ups are rushing us to the finish line fast. And the risk for all of us is lumbar damage and or cervical spine damage if you have your hand on your head and you're pulling forward, even unintentionally. But even the best of us who forward flex with no pulling on our cervical spine can risk problems to our lumbar spine, specifically disc-oriented problems. So his statement, very strong statement, is that we only have so many forward flexions in our lifetime. Those of us with bigger frames, meaning bigger and thicker bones, have fewer. We're going to get there faster. Those of us with smaller or medium, average size frames or bones, not as thick, probably are not as at risk as quickly, but we all have the same status. So this isn't something you'll feel if you're rushing toward a ruptured disc, but it is something that's happening. So there are so many other good moves. I'm sharing them with you. So sharing them with you this month. All you need to do is opt in. There will be a link on the podcast show notes where you can get into flipping50.com/core challenge, no space between those words, core challenge. And you can download a grid of consisting of 5 categories of movements and or non-movements like stabilization. You all know the plank so well, I know, that you do and that the core muscles are responsible for on a daily basis. We stabilize, that is the plank, the lateral flexion kind of movements. You're sitting in a chair, for instance, you drop your pen. You're going to laterally flex down to the floor, probably to get it. Back extension, standing upright. We need to do a little more of that. Rotation, from the moment you get out of bed in the morning to so many other things all day long, getting in and out of your car. There's rotation usually in combination with other activities. Think about getting out of bed. That's a complex movement. We are rotating, forward flexing, then extending in seconds. So there's a lot going on in that simple thing we don't think about. If you went to the gym and you were about to do an exercise, your thoughts may be, is this safe for me? Should I do this? How should I do this most safely? But we don't even think twice about getting in and out of a car or getting out of bed unless you're listening and you've had a back injury. And I've been there too. For 3 months. It took me 3 months to be pain-free after a horseback riding accident. And it was kind of the first summer I was going back to grad school, and I had a handicap sticker, and it was exhausting just getting to and from class. The place I was most comfortable was lying down on the couch, but that didn't help me get better. So super important that you realize all those things. And the very last in the 5 categories: stabilization, lateral flexion, back extension, rotation, is forward flexion. So that is where we can do it, but we need to do it more intelligently than we've ever done it before. Crunches and sit-ups have been the go-to simply because they're the go-to. We don't know any better, and it's what we've always done for 10 or 20 or 30, or maybe you're listening and it's been 40 years since you started doing them. You were taught to do them, and you were tested doing them, right? Anybody else remember doing that timed 1 minute? How many sit-ups can you do? Probably one of the worst things we could have done for ourselves. And I say that collectively as me being someone who did that, had to do it in, elementary school. Didn't we start a junior high or high school for sure, and then taught it later. So at the university level, that was still the way we fitness tested while I was teaching for 15 years. Even shortly after that, when the Army and the Navy finally gave up sit-ups as a part of their test because they realized the correlation between injuries. So here's what we know about guidelines from the government. They're slow to change. We won't dive into RDAs right now, but it takes a long time to get any change, and we won't see it probably in our lifetime that positively changes what we should eat, and knowing what that is. And the same is true of exercise. So I think it's really eye-opening that we can say the government got on the bandwagon as far as exercise and forward flexion goes. That means the rest of us who are not listening and we're still doing crunches and sit-ups probably better sit up and pay attention, just for safety's sake. So here's the thing. Even if you can say, well, they don't hurt me, you won't feel it. Unfortunately, you don't feel a ruptured disc until it happens, and then it's too late. So you won't see it sometimes on an x-ray even that you're about to have one, but you'll know you're in pain. So this isn't I'm getting up and I'm stiff in the morning, so I probably shouldn't do anything. You're not going to feel that way. You're probably going to feel good, and you're going to think you're invincible. If you're very fit and full of energy and you want to work out, you're going to think you're safe to do it, but you're not necessarily. So just a heads up on that. So what I've created is a grid full of about 7 exercises in each category. Don't make me count while I'm talking to you. Some more, some less in different categories. But that gives you a fairly infinite way to do core with variety. So you can choose an exercise in every category each day. And yes, you can do core every day. You don't need a core class, and actually a 20 or 30 minute core class really doesn't do any more good than 3 to 5 minutes of conscious core exercise. Because if you've done your core work, the deep core work, everything you do should be core exercise. Everything. When you lift weights, when you push a lawnmower, push a vacuum, shovel snow, lift groceries, lift children, swing children, all of it is core exercise, and it's core exercise done in a way that causes what we call bracing. That puts your abdominal wall closer to your spine. When you do crunches and sit-ups, just reverting to our default, we build those muscles outward. Let me ask you, is that what you want? For most of my clients and customers, it's the exact opposite of our goal. We actually want it to be flat, right? We want a smaller waistline. Please send me that. And By overemphasizing any one area, you actually draw more attention to it and you will potentially be building it. So you want to do regular, consistent core exercise with a variety, not the same exercises all the time. And that poor plank, whenever it came into our lives, what was it, between 10 and 15 years ago? Ever since, it's all we can think about, right? It now is the default. Now, there's less pressure, there's less negativity that can happen there, but we're missing out on the fact that when we sit upright and we move our arms and our legs, what we need is to leverage, we need to challenge it. So planks with variations are part of what I show you here. And you can choose any number of them, and you should. So one day you might do your plank simply flat on toes or on knees, depending on your level of beginner, intermediate, advanced experience. Some days you'll do a shoulder tap. Some days you'll do a leg tap side to side. Some days you'll do a leg lift. Some days you'll do that plank on a ball. Lots of variety. Changing the challenge to the muscles, but also we want to turn you over and do some things on your back, just not crunches and sit-ups. We want to use a ball in a different way, use props, but we also need to fit in one of each: lateral flexion, back extension, rotation, and probably a little bit of forward flexion in ways that I show you how to do it. If you're going to leave anything out, you're going to leave out forward flexion. What I want to do is invite you to the core challenge. From the core challenge, if you get in at flipping50.com/core challenge, no space between those words, you will get the download. And then what I'd love for you to do is go to the Flipping 50 TV, Flipping 50 TV Facebook page, like us, and I will do some lives this coming week about how do you get started and how can you actually win extra prizes by encouraging this movement toward stronger, safer core that actually is more effective. So you doing it, sharing with a few friends, and sharing your images of you doing it, holding up your grid, here I am doing the challenge, will release books. So I'm going to give away You Still Got It Girl. I'm going to give away Hot Not Bothered books. And I'm going to acknowledge those of you that are really doing the work. And we'll also give away some really short sprints in terms of consults with me directly. So you can privately ask me anything more about core or the rest of your workout. How could you restructure it so it's more hormone balancing, getting you the results you want without getting you the fatigue you don't want. So if it sounds good, if you want to work on your core, or if you have a question, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com/core challenge. I love to hear from you. So if this short little episode and invitation is helpful, it would be great if you'd leave a rating in iTunes and then share this with a friend or two or a sister. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. Don't forget to go over to facebook.com/flipping50 TV, then to be a part of the challenge, because we're making this public. It's for everyone to do safe core. And really, it doesn't matter if it's your daughter, your grandma, your sister, your niece. Everyone needs to start strong, centered core safely. To get the most from this week's episode and, of course, get in on the core challenge, go to, again, today's show notes at flipping50.com/core challenge. And you'll find that juicy free download you can get access to and resources, including the videos that you'll find with me live on Flipping 50 TV, our Facebook page. And I will see you then with a strong centered core.